What's up, Internet? I'm Aries Van Dam. Let me try and start this better than I did yesterday. I apologize for all the microphone issues yesterday, and I want to thank the two guys who were in here helping me straighten it all out. I really appreciate y'all. Like I ordered some headphones, so hopefully it won't be an issue. I'll be able to check it before because my old headphones, they don't really work with this new setup. So, but I did want to thank those guys. I really appreciated that because I'd have made an ass out of myself for a whole hour if not. So I appreciate you guys. And also today I'm going to do a Tim Pool video. Now, y'all know I don't really care for Tim Pool that much. It's not like he's a liberal or anything. He's a little liberal, but it's not like that far. I don't, hate him or despise him like that. I just think he's a Zionist, and I think he's kind of an arrogant shithead. And I'm going to show today a couple of debates with him debating, more liberal than him people. One of them is going to be Brian, everybody's favorite idiot leftist, Brian Shapiro, and the other one's going to be Adam Conover. And the reason I wanted to do this, and also a lot of people, I've been getting some comments to telling me to stop talking so much. This is a reaction channel. If I just put their content up there and I don't give you any kind of commentary on it, I'm stealing, right? And I put links to the original videos in my descriptions. I try to always do that as much as I can. If it's one that I can find a link to, I will link to the video I'm watching most of the time. So if you don't want to hear my commentary, well, go be stupid and watch the originals. I put them in the comments just for you. Not the comments, the description, just for you. But you're not gonna understand anything still. So that's why I'm here, to help you understand it. Because if you're a Tim Pool fan, you need things to be explained to you. You're not gonna get it on your own. That's obvious. So I'm here to help, right? Because we're both conservatives somewhat, right? So I'm trying to help you to the right kind of conservative. So that's why I do my commentary. I'm not a thief. I don't just steal people's content and throw it up there. I have to transform it, make it transformative, or else they'll just take it down. Like, that's theft. So sorry y'all didn't understand that, but y'all clicked on an Aries Van Dam video. So that's what you get, Aries Van Dam's take. You're not going to get, just the whatever they said, right? So just wanted to make that clear. And again, thanks for fixing my fuck ups yesterday. I will try to do better. Like I said, I'm buying equipment to help me get this sorted out. So headphones will be here soon. Let's jump into it. Remove. Here we go. Now, the first one is against, I went with the Brian Shapiro one first. But you will see, and Tim will end up using some. I didn't watch this one in advance. I did watch some of the Adam Conover one a couple of weeks ago. So I have a little bit more on that one. But this one I'm watching fresh. I just know Brian's an idiot, so Tim's going to win this, obviously. But let's get into it.
If you keep making non sequiturs,
it's not a non sequitur.
It is, because I asked you a question, you've ignored it.
I haven't ignored it.
What was the case?
So here's what I know about the case. Okay, it's very simple.
Yeah.
Unlike Barack Obama, which you had mentioned he's a murderer, you don't want to talk about the fact that that's never been proven in a court of law. But
what does that have to do with what I asked you? Tell me about the Eugene Carroll case.
Because a jury found him liable for sexual abuse. I don't have to know everything about the case.
No, you just believe what you're told.
To you. No, I believe in our justice system.
Let's do this.
I believe in our justice system.
Here's how I operate. I will hear a claim and I will fact check it.
Sure.
And try and dig through the facts to see if there's merit. You will believe what you're told.
So everything on the right when it comes to Donald Trump,
like Tim does with Israel,
there's no merit to it, even though he's a convicted 34-count felon. But those were made up. Right, sure. And then
you don't even know the crime.
I don't have to know the crime to know that a jury found him guilty in a court of law. You can disagree with the outcome. You do. I disagree with the
Nelson Mandela was a criminal too. He got locked up.
Hey, sometimes the justice system gets it wrong. I think we could agree on that.
So if you
not my type.
That is why you need to know what he's being accused of. You can't just say, yeah, somebody said he's guilty of something, let's put him in jail. Yeah, you kind of need to know what, and you kind of need to know about the context behind it. I do agree with Tim here.
It's a better defense than the glove doesn't fit, I think.
I think the question, you know what? We can just pause right here and say to everybody who's listening, I think my point is I can tell you the facts of these cases and why I have doubts, and you don't know anything about them.
So here's a fact. Donald Trump is a 34-count felon. You can disagree with it, but you can say incorrect till the cows come home. He wasn't sentenced, but he was convicted on 34 felony counts. Now you can
of what? That's the whole thing. Brian can't answer it because we don't even know. That was a sham trial, and I'm not a big Trumper, but yeah, he definitely got railroaded there.
He
Of
wasn't.
With
course.
that, okay, you can disagree.
Name
with
the
it.
crime.
That's fine.
Name the crime.
You don't have to name the crime.
Yes, you
He's a
do.
34 count felon.
You have to name the crime.
Okay, well, listen.
So again, I will say it to the audience. He doesn't even know what the charge was. He doesn't know who was accused of falsifying.
I named you a few. I don't have all 34 charges in front of me, but it doesn't, just because I can't name
Wouldn't
the
it
charges.
be prudent of you to actually investigate these things before parroting them to a large audience?
I'm not parroting them. All I'm simply
You can't
saying,
even explain what your position is.
just because, okay, here's
What
my,
did Trump? Okay, let me try this. Let's slow down. Why do you? What do you think Trump did wrong in that case?
you're talking about E. Jean Carroll, or are you talking
No,
about
the business records case. What did he do wrong?
well, falsifying business records was what he was charged
No,
with.
no. What specifically did he do wrong?
What specific?
What do you take
falsifying
issue with?
records? Falsifying records.
Which records? I'm asking you the specifics of what did you find that he did
So
wrong?
here's my point.
You don't have an
I'd like
answer
to
for
make.
it?
I'm going to answer it for you.
Are you gonna give me a specific example, or are you gonna change the subject again?
I'm not changing the subject. We're talking about this.
So what did
So,
Trump do wrong? Say Trump did thing. Tell me.
Okay. Here's the answer that I'm going to give you. I don't know all the ins and outs of this case.
Well, then why are we
Here's
talking?
here's what I do know. Regardless of what your opinions are on the case, and
So I don't know all the facts. So let's just go off the few I do think I know. that's how easy Brian's arguments are to defeat. We don't know all the facts, so let's just go off the ones I think I know. That's insane.
what you might think are valid that he didn't do anything wrong, what you might think are valid that he never sexually abused a woman. Here's the bottom line, whether you like it or not. A jury found him guilty on 34 counts that you obviously disagree with. Whether I know the ins and outs of the case is irrelevant.
Yep.
The fact of the matter is that he is a 34 count felon. The fact of the matter is
Of what? If you can't tell me what, then no, he's not. That's the whole point. You have to know what these felonies are, because if it's such a serious crime, like you know what a murder is, but we don't know what all these little real estate things are that you're calling a felony. What is he guilty of? And that's how we're going to show you that it was political.
that he's a liable sexual abuser. Liable.
Actually, so this is actually legally distinct to be.
He wasn't sentenced. I understand.
Therefore, he's not a felon.
I understand that.
There has to be the final.
I understand.
Right, so he's not a felon.
I've said that.
I understand that, but I'm continuing to call him one anyway. That's liberal thinking. That is liberal thinking at
So
its
we
best.
agree he's not a felon.
Okay. The reason why he wasn't sentenced is because he
under
won
appeal.
the presidency.
Well, it's under appeal actually, and it's been over a year since the appellate court was prepared to issue their
I'll
ruling.
tell you
They
what.
haven't done it.
If he wins his appeal, I will come on this show and I will say, Tim, I was wrong.
Well, no,
You
no,
were
no,
right.
Hold on. We agree though. He's not yet a felon until he's sentenced.
He wasn't sentenced. I've said
He's
that
not a felon.
multiple. I've said that multiple times. A
Agreed.
jury convicted him on 34 felony counts.
Of what?
Again, there you go back again, trying to quiz me on what the.
Okay, here's my point. I don't.
Don't quiz me on all these facts I'm pretending like I know.
That's the only point
I don't know why you're here.
I don't know what you mean.
We're not
No one did.
debating.
Okay, well, I
Like a debate's like this. Donald Trump did a backflip, and here's why it was wrong. Well, actually, backflips have been long protected. I'm saying Donald Trump was accused of these specific things, and you say, I don't know. And I'm like, okay, then we're not having a debate.
No.
You're just saying I read in the news Trump was convicted, and I say, okay.
okay, well,
It's important to drill down because then you can compare it to other similar situations and whether people have been charged by that. And then that's the way that you can suss out whether it was
Well,
lawfare or something
Indeed,
unusual.
but even outside of that, it's that when an individual is convicted of a crime, it is prudent of a society to analyze whether or not this is a legitimate use of the judiciary of our legal system.
so you don't like people
and
that
it's-
accuse other people of things.
And the point I'm making is,
Yeah.
I don't believe law dictates morality. I don't believe just because something is legal, it is correct. And I don't blindly trust when an authority figure says, trust me, this person's bad. That's why I oppose the death penalty, because there's going to be some authority figure says, you don't need the facts of the case, kill this man. I'm going to say no. So in the issue of Donald Trump in New York, he was not actually legitimately charged under any crime, and it's unprecedented in U.S. history. Trump was charged under 34 counts of misdemeanor, falsification of business records with no underlying crime. They then said, okay, I guess, upgrade it to a felony. Everybody said, well, hold on a minute. This is why it's currently in appeal, because Trump was never actually charged with the underlying crime required for an aggravated charge. It's never happened before.
So let's just say you're 100% right and I'm
I am.
100% wrong. Let's just assume that for a moment. I'm not quite sure, but let's just assume
Much as it bugs me, Tim is right here.
that for a moment. I was talking also about the moralities of the case, and you were asking me about E. Jean Carroll. And while I don't want to go into the details of that case, I wasn't there. What
And you don't know either.
Okay, but he was.
I do.
Again, it goes back to what I said earlier.
What was he accused of doing?
He was found liable for sexual.
What does that mean?
The
What did he
judge
do?
characterized it as rape, as penetrating her with his fingers. A jury found that he was liable. Now, I wasn't there. You weren't there. But here's what I do
What year
know.
did it take place?
I don't recall. It was many years ago. But
It was 30 years ago.
But the point is, he has a track record with how he has treated women from a moral standpoint.
How was it? Let me ask you this question. How was it that E. Jean Carroll was able to bring a case 30 years after the fact?
One case that came out 30 years later, that's not a track record.
You're asking me
Nothing else is
how?
convictions.
Very important to the case.
Okay, well,
it's
let's-
actually a key component.
Famous people get accused of shit all the time. If it's not a conviction, it's nothing.
By your argument, Bill Cosby's never raped anybody before.
He's
I
been
asked you a
convicted.
question.
And by your logic, because it was 30 years ago,
No.
it couldn't have happened. Why are you asking me that?
You're changing the subject again.
No, you're asking me 30 years.
I think the issue is you're so ignorant on these issues.
I don't think I'm ignorant at all. I think you're,
Then what was
you're,
the pretext?
you're unwilling to put any
So
responsibility on
What
Donald
was
Trump
the
for anything.
pretext? Trump is wrong. Trump is bad. We've already agreed. He's done
Wrong
bad
and
things.
bad and illegal are different things.
So
Go
let's and this is a liability case, not a legality case, not a criminal case.
Sure.
So the pretext by which the case came about is extremely important in law, and I'm asking you the details because you don't know. I presume you don't know, and that's why you hold this position.
Okay, all I said to you, and you want to quiz me on these cases, but all
I don't know what you're talking
Okay,
about.
Tim, is he a liable sexual abuser? Yes or no?
No.
So he's not a felon. He's not a liable sexual abuser.
Oh, well, actually, let me clarify. If I get 3 guys to come in here with badges on and they say you're a rapist, are you a rapist?
If I'm found liable in a court of law, I could be liable for sexual abuse.
I mean, what
I'm
if I
pretty sure if 3 cops came in here and it was presented in a
this.
courtroom, my attorneys would defend me. And
what if I paid
found
what if I
liable.
paid off a judge?
Oh,
and I
so,
said-
so you're saying Trump paid off? Or I'm
No,
sorry,
I'm
Jean
not.
Carroll paid. Okay.
I'm asking you a question to
That's not a
understand your
non-sequitur.
moral worldview.
That's not a non sequitur.
I'm asking you a question to determine what your moral worldview is.
Sure.
You keep changing the subject and interrupting
They hate these internal critiques. It really bothers them.
when I ask these questions.
Apologies. Go ahead.
If a judge is bribed and finds you liable of rape, are you a rapist?
If it's proven that a judge has been bribed, then obviously you would probably win on appeal, right?
What if the judge brought the case
Is
illegally?
that right? Is that fair?
Well, perhaps you would. I mean,
Right.
the question was, would you be a rapist? Would you consider a person to be a rapist if a judge was paid off to do it?
Not if it's proven that a judge was paid off.
But we don't know.
Was the judge paid off?
In this instance, we don't know. I'm just asking you, in a circumstance where a judge it's not a legitimate ruling,
If it's
the ruling itself
I'm answering your
lacks
question.
merit.
I'm answering your question. If
Right.
if it's proven obviously that
Okay.
if a judge is paid off, then obviously
What if a judge brought the case illicitly, meaning it wasn't actually able to be brought into a court, but he did anyway?
Okay, so being bribed and your opinion of being illicitly brought are 2 completely different things.
So I'm asking these questions. If a judge brought forth a case, or I should
They're both motivated by other means, though. It's a similar thing, a bribe versus doing something because you have TDS. It's a very similar motivation.
say, a case was brought to a judge that did not have legal merit to be entered into court of law, and he said, we're doing it anyway, and then said, you're a rapist. Is that legitimate?
I know where you're going with this.
Where am I going?
And well, you're making the case that's what happened here in the E. Jean Carroll
not.
case.
I'm trying to suss out your moral worldview on when do you determine that an act of the judiciary is not actually legal?
If that's proven, if it could be proven that way.
So the court. So
Yep.
my
You asked me the judge question. I gave you my
the point of this is, if your argument is the very blanket, a guy said a thing, we can certainly agree a guy said a thing. If the question is, did Trump in a legitimate setting face these claims and convictions? The answer is no. And I can break it all down fact by fact, detail by detail. Specifically with the E. Jean Carroll case, there's numerous factors as to why this is meritless. Notably, that the New York State legislature passed, it might have been, I think it was the state, passed a law allowing claims beyond the statute of limitations for a period of 1 year to be brought up for civil action. The only person who picked it up was E. Jean Carroll, and then it disappeared. This is lawfare. Additionally, E. Jean Carroll's story made literally no sense. She claimed to have been wearing clothes that didn't exist. She claimed to have access to rooms that she did not have access to. And Trump, the most famous man in New York, instead of going into his hotel across the street from the Bergdorf Goodman, went into a crowded building where there was no one for this one period for no reason. None of it made sense. And we can sit here and say, well, that story is certainly strange, but why did she claim to have clothes that didn't come? Why was she claiming to be wearing clothes that didn't even exist at the time? A specific dress that wasn't released until years later. More importantly, she didn't have a key to that room, nor did Trump. And she also said the Bergdorf Goodman, one of the busiest stores in New York, had no people in it.
So
You then say, I find that all to be credible. And the New York State legislature passed a law allowing her to bring it.
I never said that.
So why
the
would
only
you
thing that
agree
I
with this
said?
stuff?
The only thing that I said, Tim, was
I wish to God that Tim Pool would look this feverishly into Israel claims, right? Because he doesn't do the same scrutiny when he criticizes Israel and looks into them. Nah, we believe what they say. That was very, very meticulous what he just said there. And I wish he would have that same standard whenever he's looking at other world events. But that was very good.
that he is a liable sexual abuser. Now, we could have disagreements on whether you think it's credible or not. I asked you the question very simply.
And here's my worldview on government. I think when government makes claims, they have to prove it. And if they can't, I wouldn't do it. So when I see a guy who's clearly innocent on death row, I don't call him a murderer. I say they have cheated an innocent man. I call him an innocent man. When
the
Kamala
Parkland
Harris,
Five, right? They're innocent.
we're not arguing the Parkland Five.
Okay.
My point is when you have people on death row, I oppose the death penalty, who are innocent, I won't call them a murderer. If the state falsifies evidence, and they've done this on numerous occasions to imprison innocent people, the state is the criminal. The prosecutors are the criminals.
I think here's where
and
our
they need to be
disagreement-
in prison.
Tim, sorry to interrupt. I think this is where our disagreement is. While we have a lot of different disagreements on, Donald Trump, whether he's a criminal or not, the fact of the matter still stands. He was found liable for sex. Doesn't mean
I'll
that
put it like
it's
this.
credible.
Here's-
Tim.
here's-
I think
here's-
you're misinterpreting what I'm saying here.
No. I clarified that point. The difference between us is you trust government, I don't.
I don't trust government 100%.
But you trust them enough to
Tim trusts one government. It's just not ours.
Here's what I
don't.
Here's what I will say, Tim. Okay,
and that's fine.
here's what I will say, Tim, and then I'm sure you want to move on to some other stuff, but I don't always trust government. All I'm simply saying is I gave you my moral.
Yeah, government
spiel.
said so, and you agree.
Well, it's not just about government. It's about his behavior. It's about the things he says. It's about the things he does. I think it's an embarrassment.
I think you're emotionally offended by Trump as a character, so you're willing to entertain illicit government action because you don't like the man.
No, I think there's a lot of reasons why I don't like Donald Trump. There's a policy standpoint of it, and then there's the moral standpoint of it.
What other policies don't you?
Atrocious human being. Okay, an atrocious human being. I think maybe we agree.
It always goes back to his TDS. Brian Shapiro is the one person I can say without a doubt needs TDS therapy worse than anyone, because every argument goes back to he's an awful person. He's as if every other politician is equally awful or just about as bad. They're all politicians. They're all shitbags. I don't pretend like any of them are good people. I just don't.
Agree on that? I don't know.
This is the distinction.
But you agree he's a really bad guy.
No, I wouldn't say that.
He's not a bad guy.
You said
Decent guy.
you've just changed.
Good father, good husband.
Oh, he is a great father.
Having unprotected sex with a porn star 2 weeks after Barron is born, that you think that's a good father?
I don't think a single action could define a man who's got great kids who have been very successful. I think people are neither absolutely good or absolutely evil.
See, this is a mistake trying to defend Trump's fucking actions. Why would you do that? He's a bad person too. They're all bad people. They're politicians. They all do awful shit. They're fucking This is so childish. Why would you try and defend that? I would just say, yes, he's awful just like all the other politicians. Everyone you vote for is awful. Get that through your head. It's a fact.
There's varying degrees of whether someone could be good, bad, or otherwise. And Donald Trump has certainly done things that knock him down a peg or two and bring him down to a lower tier, but he's done a pretty good job with his family, indeed. I mean, look at the success they have. His kids are well-adjusted, successful
different
individuals.
lives, yeah.
C'est la vie, I suppose.
Even Hillary Clinton on the debate stage said he's a good father.
This weird, puritanical argument doesn't work on me. I'm not a conservative.
I didn't say you were.
Right. So when you say Donald Trump banged a lot of people, I'll be like, certainly did.
I just don't think he's a very good person.
That's the narrative context of all this, right? Because the big thing the Dems blamed Hillary's loss on in 2016 was that she was accused of being a felon. And they thought that made a big difference. And it did make a difference. But they thought that if they could throw that felon label onto Trump, then there was an opportunity to get that to do the same thing that happened to Hillary. But they don't realize there were a lot more intangibles under that besides the felony accusation, which is why Trump was able to spin it as outlaw. And also the law is important. I think I agree, the law is important, which is why it's so important that we really suss out whether there's political lawfare, because that undermines the whole trust in the entire legal system, and then you just have chaos.
Well, I mean, going back to
if you're making an argument that like some Christian Catholic person might agree with, it might work on a Catholic Christian or whatever, or conservative. I'm an urban liberal moderate, and I think Trump has certainly sinned quite a great deal. But people having done bad things does not define them as
so policy is
a singular bad action doesn't make someone a bad person.
So is it fair to say, Tim, that policy?
Although there are questions of whether being with a guy one time makes you gay.
I would say it probably does.
Go to boonies.com.
Unless you
For the record, Tim,
be gay or don't be gay.
Tim, I will not go on a date with you tonight.
We can compare policy versus empathy too, but after meeting with Trump and having dinner with him, there were a few examples that stuck out, which seemed like really hard to fake empathetic impulses.
Yeah.
Including around Hillary, when we were talking about how Hillary got maybe pushed, maybe not pushed by the Secret Service into her car, and we all started laughing.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's actually not really nice. You could get
listen,
seriously
he's a really
hurt.
bad guy. A guy wouldn't say, when he talked about John McCain and he said he didn't respect him because he was captured. I tend not to like people who are captured. I felt that should have been.
Brian's TDS is so similar to Mean Girls. If you've ever had to deal with, especially adult, once they get to be adults, I had to deal with a bartender like this, where they want to tell you who's good and who's bad. And if you end up being friends with the person that they say is bad, well, then you're the bad person too. It's this mental contagion that they get where they just think they're supposed to be in charge of what is like, universally considered good and bad. Like, who the fuck are you?
Disqualifying right there.
I was mad when he made fun of Rand Paul's hair, but then he started
that's
dating
different.
Hillary, and all
Listen,
the feelings of
Tim,
anger went away.
Tim, I don't like J.D. Vance. I don't like Ron DeSantis, but I'll tell you something I would never do. Shit on their military service. I respect anybody who serves this country, and I respect their military service. When you say you don't respect somebody because they were captured, can you admit and agree with me that that is just an awful, despicable thing to say?
Of course, I've said it before.
I don't think this.
I think it's a joke, and I don't care anyway. And I voted for McCain, I think. Yeah, because he was against Obama. Yeah, so I had to have voted for him. So it's not that big a deal. You act like he's some kind of protected status in our society. He's okay. He was a fucking presidential candidate, but you can say things about him that he gets all of this mixed up. Like, this is just like, I can't think of the word for it, but it's just like, shit, I'm having a brain fart. I can't remember the word for it, but this is like, not propaganda. Let me think about it.
Care about that though, because
Yeah,
they've
I
lost
mean,
faith in all institutions.
When John McCain died, there are so many people that I know that just mercilessly attacked him for being a warmongering neocon. And I certainly didn't like him for those reasons, but Lord have mercy, the man was tortured for years.
For 5 years, yeah.
And was permanently disabled because of it. And
Right.
I said nothing but nice things when he died, despite really despising
Well,
him.
that's nice of you. I think that's the right thing to say. I thought when he took the microphone from that woman, if you remember that moment when the woman's called, Barack Hussein Obama, I thought that was a great moment for the country.
Absolutely.
And Tim, I guess my point is Donald Trump would never do that. And I
agree. Yeah.
And that's the point I'm trying to make. We can have disagreements, and I don't have the 34 counts in front of me. I don't know. You know a lot more about the case than I do.
Yeah, I'll tell you what.
I don't doubt that, Tim.
I'll tell you what I see happening in this country.
He went on Timcast to debate this subject. Like, I think if I was going on Timcast, I would spend like a week memorizing shit that I know we're going to talk about. Why would you go on there to debate Trump and all the shit he's done bad when you know you have TDS and that's all you can talk about? How do you not know the shit that disproves the only thing you're saying?
There's a million and one ways to describe it, but it looks like there are many people who I would describe as default liberals. And that doesn't mean that they're Democrats or overtly politically liberal. This is a definition of a faction. They emotionally dislike Trump. Therefore, Trump is bad. What Trump does is bad. It's always going to be bad, whether, like, for example, is like the East Wing thing happening right now. Like the fake outrage over tearing down the East Wing is just the weirdest thing. He's not the first president to do it. He's not the last president.
I'm not focused on that.
I understand.
Roosevelt,
So this doesn't need to be on you. I'm just saying there's all these liberals that are coming out aghast that there's a remodel happening. And we had the worst riots in 50 years where all of our statues are being torn down. I'm not talking about Confederates. I'm talking about Thomas Jefferson, Hans Christian Heg, Frederick Douglass, and they were supporting that. Thanks for watching this clip from the Culture.
All right, let me cut this in here to go to the next video. I can't think of the name for it. Shit, that's gonna bug me until I die. What the fuck is that word? Anyway, moving on. The next video is a different type of liberal. This is Adam Conover. He used to own that Adam Ruins Everything show on A&E. I think it was on A&E. He's a different type of liberal. I don't know if his TDS is quite as deep as Brian's, but I don't think anyone's is. But he's still, from what I remember, it was a pretty much a beatdown similar to this, and that's why I'm showing you these. I want y'all to see that Tim Pool is capable. He has a use. Call him Pim Tool, like everybody his nickname or whatever, because he does have a tool. He has a use. You can sick him on people who are to the left of him, right? He's good at debating people who are on the left of him, but when he debates someone on the right of him, like Andrew Wilson, man, it all just disappears. It just vanishes. So let me just, this might be the easiest way to do that. And then just let it run to the next one. So I want y'all to take note some of the things he uses. And you're going to see, if you remember the Andrew Wilson one, whenever I did Andrew
How's it
Wilson
going, everybody? Welcome to the Culture War.
and him, the one that's blowing up, that one was pretty much this. He uses the exact same like tools that the liberals use on him. He uses them on the conservatives. So he just becomes the default liberal in any debate with anyone to the right of him. And he uses the same tools, the same techniques, the same obfuscations that they use. He uses them against people like Andrew and people who are more based than him. So just pay attention.
We got a special episode today. It's not necessarily about a core issue. It's we're being joined by Adam Conover.
Hey, thanks for having me. Nice to be here.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming, man. Who are you? What do you do?
I'm a comedian. I've made a couple television shows in the past, did a true TV show, did a Netflix show.
Wait,
I'm a stand-up comic.
this is the whole show. Let me get just the copy of it. I think it was a clip
I'm
that
gonna
I
try
was
this one
looking
more
at.
time.
That's not the one
If
I
you
wanted.
keep making non sequiturs,
Let's see. I got it down here, I think. Damn it. That is not it. I'm just gonna have to jump to it. I know I had it.
there was asylum and allowed that to happen. So he doesn't want to suffering to live.
Trump is like holding up photos of his tattoos with like MS-13 on it, and like they're giving press conferences about he beat his wife. They're doing character, assassination on the guy. Like all of that is accidental.
No, that's
like,
a political attack against Democrats.
Yeah, right.
It-
So
what-
and so here, let me just get to the end of my point, okay? Is that, they turn it into a political attack because they are acting lawlessly. They're proud to be acting lawlessly. The point is to demonstrate on this issue we will act lawlessly. You're not safe if you are, even under the protection of a court order in this country, and you should be frightened and you should leave. It's just like it's an authoritarian attack against immigrants directly, and it's designed. It's a leverage of the it's a leveraging of the state to try to frighten immigrants and other groups, not only illegal immigrants. Okay, so let's talk about the students who have been detained and deported. Right, these are people who are under student visas. Right, they appear at a protest or two, and they're thrown into vans. They're held in these bizarre facilities. They're blah blah. There's
Why are they
multiple
bizarre?
cases.
If you want to say that,
So the point of this is to frighten people at universities, pro-Palestinian protesters, and that means any protester on the left, of course, and immigrants of all types, including those who are here on legal immigrant visas. Like the details of the individual cases don't matter. They like creating a firestorm around someone who is here legally, creating a huge controversy about them, and then saying, we don't give a fuck. We're going to do whatever we want to these
That's not
people
illegal.
because we want you to be afraid, right?
But that's not-
and that to me is
illegal.
that's an expression of like pure authoritarianism. It's a leveraging of state power to frighten undergroups in society that these people don't like. It's like very straightforward. We can mount as many legal defenses as we want of it and say, blah blah blah, according to this statute or that statute. But the actual action is just designed to frighten people Trump doesn't like, and it's bizarre to see him do it.
Let's say yes, but none of that's illegal. That's all actually codified law that they're allowed to do.
Okay, yeah, sure. It's fucking bullshit. It sucks. It's bad. It's bad for the country. It's bad for the American spirit.
We can talk about a lot of bad things that every administration's done in the past that liberals and Democrats have covered up or participated in or didn't argue against.
Yeah, I guess what?
This is what's crazy. Adam Conover is actually a bigger liberal than Brian, like fame-wise. People know him. He had his own TV show and stuff. Brian's got a little radio show, but this guy does less research than Brian Shapiro, right? His whole thing does no research. He got outclassed on Joe Rogan not too long ago, and I think that's why Tim brought him on here, thought it was his turn. So let's get back to it. But yeah, this guy is just no preparation. Yeah, it's bad.
I mean, we're
It
talking
feels
about this one
disingenuous.
currently. It feels disingenuous to talk about one thing the Trump administration is doing because Democrats have done bad things too.
Well, like for instance, Donald Trump, through Marco Rubio specifically, revoking student visas, saying that these individuals represent a threat to our national security by adhering to our enemies. And literally, that's what they're claiming. I think it's ridiculous to claim that a student who's anti-Israel is working with Hamas. That's silly. But that's the argument he's making, and under the INA, he has the authority to do it. So you say, okay, well,
I don't see that. They are technically working with them if they're on a college campus protesting and like making speeches against our government. Why would we let them stay in the country? Yes, they are fucking against our country. They should not be here. But I have no issues with that.
when people
So
come in
that
here on
Tim
student
is what
visas,
left
they
of
do
me.
sign agreements saying they won't do certain things. They do it, they get kicked
So
out.
this is okay with you because it's narrowly legal under Marco Rubio's, purview.
I would say it's what's fine with me is the revocation of a visa for someone who's not a citizen who's here conditionally. Like Mohammed Khalil, who was on a conditional temporary visa.
So-
and if
so-
it gets revoked, I just say like, well, that's a conditional visa. I don't go to Singapore and spit on the ground. I'll get caned.
So sorry. You think what's happened to those students is like that's okay with you? Not legally. I'm talking about like as an event that occurred in the country. You're like, oh, it's good that happened. It's okay with me. You think it's moral. You think it's right. You think it's just. I'm not talking about legally. I'm talking about like you say you don't
60%?
60%.
Yeah, like nothing's so easily black and white.
Rumesa Ozturk, who she wrote an op-ed. The only thing that anybody has even claimed that she's done is she wrote an extremely mild op-ed in her campus newspaper, asking that the college like sort of consider being supportive of the Palestinian cause in some vaguely defined way.
Yeah.
Her visa's revoked. We've all seen the video, right? People come and like grab her and literally put her into a vehicle.
Was arrested.
They're wearing masks, right? She's stopped in an alarming way on the street, right?
It's not like they filmed that and published that footage.
Let me tell you how crazy based I am. I can't stand Israel. So I agree with what that girl is saying, but I still don't think you should be doing that if you're on a visa. You're in a country that's not yours. Keep your fucking mouth shut and your head down and learn the fucking system. Learn how everything is, assimilate, and then you can have an opinion. None of this. None of this.
So that was security camera footage.
Yeah,
People got
Even if I agree with what you're saying.
they did it in if you want a student, like a young woman, there's other ways to arrest them than have 6 people show up wearing masks, surround her in a pincer formation. Like it's designed to create terror. So
It's designed to create safety for the officers making the arrest.
like what
They don't have to do
what's
it that way.
what
Agreed.
Okay, great.
They didn't have, and Biden's DOJ didn't need to show up at Roger Stone's house at 4 in the morning.
Sure. And
So-
and you know what? If you want to bring up another example,
Did they need to raid Mar-a-Lago's fucking garages looking for shit that the president took that Biden also took? No, it's all political.
I'll say I condemn that as well.
Agreed.
If that'll keep
but
us
we're
on
in
this topic
agreement.
for a second.
We've had numerous instances across administrations that have acted similarly.
Okay, let's stay on Rumesa Ozturk. Why do you think that? Like, what was the administration's purpose? Not the legal argument for whether they can do it or not.
Israel.
What? Yeah. Okay. So
So you just saw that. You just heard him say, why are you asking that though? That is the main thing that they use whenever I've seen Tim use it, where you will make a good point about Israel and they'll say, yeah, but why are you asking that? Why are you saying that? They want to attack your motive. They don't want to attack your facts. They want to attack your reason for finding that fact. And Tim does the exact same thing. I want you to pay attention. He just had it done on him. He's going to use the exact same tactics against Andrew Wilson or against, I forgot who the person was, but I'll find that one for you too. Oh, shit.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Culture
Wrong
War.
button.
that's the understanding.
All right. So you're saying that
This is what
Right.
I'm.
be illegal to put a.
No,
So,
my value is like I really like it when people say what the fuck they think about any country's
we can
politics.
simplify it. My value would just be, to whatever mathematical degree, American sovereignty supersedes the right of foreigners to speak about our policies.
But in this case,
That's just my value.
In
We've
this,
concluded.
so you think that literally any time America is exercising its sovereignty, that's like a good thing in that particular case? Like, because,
What does that mean?
like,
You're a guest in our.
Mark.
Look, with all due respect, I think I said it like 6, 7 times.
Uh-huh.
You're a guest in our country. Adhere to the rules. That's it. That includes conservative Canadians,
If you visit someone's house for dinner and they're talking politics and your political views are in opposition to the person that owns the house, you may be asked to leave. That is just a common thing.
conservative Brits. That's Carl Benjamin. That's Paul Joseph Watson. That's Viva Fry. That's Seth Rogen. And it's also
Okay, so
Ramesa,
all
it's also
those
Mohammed
people
they got deported, I'd say, okay.
should not speak about American national interests, like the Suez Canal. We shouldn't
While
say,
here on a
oh, the
temporary
Panama
visa.
Canal, or like,
While
is
here on a
Puerto Rico a
conditional
state or not?
visa.
They should not speak about American politics.
You can speak about what you want, but speech has consequences.
I mean,
Doesn't it?
okay, so we can move on.
This sounds like a Brittany Griner argument here. Yeah, I can smoke my weed in Russia. What the fuck? They don't care.
I'll say, to me,
Neither do we.
That's a radically different America than I thought I grew up in. And I think it's fucked up that we're becoming that kind of country. I think it's really
believe you
bad.
think that's true.
Yeah, you don't believe I think that's true?
Well, I mean, I suppose I
Like
could
what I
say-
just said, I believe. You're like, you don't believe that.
Well, because if we go back several administrations, that's not been the case ever. I mean, look at New York in the 2000s.
He's trying to say you have a problem with it with Trump, but you don't have a problem with it when it's Biden doing it or when Obama's doing it. You have no issues. That's what he's trying to say.
When the Bush administration rounded people up, and well, I'm sorry, it wasn't Bush, during the Bush years, and they put 200 people in like a bus. They locked them in a bus cage.
Yeah, that was bad.
That's the country you grew up in. The idea that
and it
these
was
things
bad.
haven't been happening. George Carlin got arrested for swearing. We had blasphemy
and it
laws
was
on the
bad.
book.
Yeah,
You
and it
actually
was
are claiming that
bad.
But it just became a problem now.
And then we
Indeed,
said,
and you
we
grew up
shouldn't
in
do that
nation,
anymore.
and it never changed. The idea that you think you grew up in a nation where you could say whatever you wanted is an absurdity. George Carlin went to jail for swearing.
And that was good, you think?
No, it
because
wasn't.
you think it's good that Ramesa Ozturk is being forced
She's
to
not
leave
a
the country.
citizen.
So
she's on a conditional visa as conditioned by the INA and the existing administration and the will of the voters.
okay, but you're arguing.
no. My argument
you're
is,
arguing that
you said the
Ozturk's
country I grew
deportation makes
up in-
sense because George Carlin was arrested for swearing.
No, you said I grew up in a country with free speech, and I said no, you did not.
And
it's
you're
never been true.
And you're like, okay, you're right. So under your view, America is a country that doesn't have free speech, never had free speech.
Yes.
And that's a good thing.
No.
Because we're exercising our sovereignty.
No.
Okay, but you think it's a good thing that Ramesa Ozturk doesn't have free speech?
You understand the
When did he say it was a good thing? Leftists love putting that in too, just throwing their own like straw man on top of what you say. He didn't say it was a good thing. He said it's a thing.
distinction between a non-citizen here on a conditional visa and an American citizen being arrested for swearing?
I understand that there's a
Very
distinction.
different
I don't
circumstances.
think that either of those people should be treated differently in that case.
Let me say this.
I don't agree
This
with you,
country
man.
has never had free speech.
Okay, I
It's
think.
a fact. When the founding fathers finalized the
Do you
Constitution,
think we should have free speech?
yes, but there are limits on what
Okay.
free speech is based on the moral worldview of the individual argument. For instance, do you believe someone should be allowed to direct someone to commit a violent crime?
That's
Yes or
not
no?
that's not the moral worldview of an argument. That is the effect of the speech. So you think
no,
that
hold
you
on,
think
hold
that
on.
whether you have free speech should be your words should be based
I'm
on the
trying
moral
to-
worldview of the argument.
So to understand
certain
your view of
arguments-
what free speech means, I'm
He
asking
didn't
you a
word that
question.
good.
If somebody says explicitly, you right now commit crime to that person, is that free speech?
Someone says you right now commit crime to that person, and what do they do it?
Yes.
I mean, I guess I'm not a free speech scholar, but like that
Obviously.
is there's probably be legal consequences for that free
It is
speech.
illegal to do that. Do you think someone should be able to yell fire in a crowded theater?
I mean, this is the canonical example of
Right.
speech that's not free speech. So
It actually is. That's Brandenburg v. Ohio. It is, in fact, legal speech. I don't think people should. I understand the Supreme Court's ruling on that issue. The challenge with free speech, let's
You should if it's on fire, just so you know.
go back to the beginning of this country. Blasphemy laws were on the books after they even had the First Amendment.
so do you so
Like they literally said you can't blaspheme. We would say that's not free speech, but how did you have a First Amendment if you arrested people for blaspheming? My point is, and this is an anarchist philosophy, the laws of the country are dictated by those with the power to enforce it. That's why it used to be illegal to put a pie on your windowsill, but even though it's still illegal, nobody arrests you for it. So free speech does change throughout the generations.
Of course.
We never grew up in an era, we never had a time in our lives where you had true free speech the way the absolutists want it to be.
Yeah, I'm talking about the story that we tell about ourselves as a country, man. I'm talking about
That's not true.
I'm talking about the
Talking about a vague thing in my head.
values that we that we have collectively as people. And of course, those are always changing a little bit, and people are trying to pull them in one direction or another.
Split in half.
I would have thought,
Like we all have the same values. Like a Muslim woman, like a Muslim single mother in Dearborn, Michigan has the same values as me. No.
that like I don't know that much about you. I know you're very involved with Occupy and stuff like that and protest movements, which I think is cool work. I would have thought that like a student writing an op-ed about another country's war and her own institution's support for it, vis-a-vis our country's foreign policy, would be the kind of thing that you would think is a sort of free speech that we should value. That is the kind of free speech that I think
He hasn't given you a whether it's right or wrong thing. He's just telling you based on history, that's the way it is. He's not saying it's right or wrong. He even said at one point that it shouldn't be that way, but it is that way.
I personally think like a lot of the
Your new outrage when it just happened this time is what he's trying to point out, that you never had any problems before. You can call it bad now, but you weren't saying anything then.
idea of America is built upon. I think it's one of the good things about the country, that this is a country where you can come here and you can express your opinion mildly in the newspaper.
What happened at Kent State?
And it's I think Kent State was bad.
My point is, there's things we wish America was, but I kind of feel like a non-citizen.
But this
getting,
one you
getting
said
deported.
you think is good. You're not sitting here going, man, yeah,
She
that's
got
a bummer.
deported, dude. What are you talking about? She didn't get shot in the face. A conditional visa was revoked. I'm not crying about it. I don't care.
I mean, I think she cares. I think
That's
her
too
family
fucking
cares.
Too fucking bad.
People
Shut
at the
up.
University care. I think I think
If she cared, she should have kept quiet, right?
like
Change the law, man. This is a marginal issue for a single person who was in violation of the INA as it's enforced by a government that was elected by a popular majority, or I should say by a plurality, but the popular vote. So let me pull this up because this is what we were talking about earlier. This is RCP from April 22nd. Every age bracket, to be fair, 40-49 is a tie, but Real Clear Politics aggregate shows from all of the latest polls, 70 plus is the only age group that is a negative view of Trump's job.
okay. I'm just trying to.
This is a popular majority.
I'm just trying to make sense of your position around free speech, because you agree with me about all the past things in America that you're talking about. Kent State, you're talking about George Carlin and all these other things, and these were bad abrogations of free speech.
Indeed, deportation is not a murder. You're going home. I'm giving you a ride home.
But
Well, if you came to my house, I let you in the door. I said, you can hang out tonight. And you started shit talking my brother. I say, bro, I'm going to give you a ride home. I don't think you should be here. That's not an affront to someone's sovereignty or free speech. It's like the worst thing that happened to you is I gave you a ride home. Oh, I'm going to cry. She's going home. What's the problem? Home's nice. She was here conditionally. We said, hey, we kind of think you're being a dick. We're going to give you a ride home. That's it.
I mean, when I get a ride home,
Kent State,
six
they
guys
shot
don't
people and
normally
killed
shove me into a van, and then my family doesn't know where I am. That's
You're probably not usually breaking in when that happens either. You shouldn't be here.
No.
you know.
How about you're at a bar and you're acting out in some way, and they say, listen, buddy,
Bouncers.
Do you feel
security throws you out of the bar.
Do you feel this
gets
woman
you a
was
cab.
acting out? Do you think she was acting inappropriately? Do you think that she was acting?
I've already told you I did not.
I do.
Okay,
said-
so then how are you justifying what happened?
I don't
it's
think you can-
legally narrow that it can happen.
I
therefore,
don't-
it's good.
I don't
Your
think you know how to
position is
separate.
incoherent.
I'm planning a trip to the Orient to find a woman. So I'm planning it right now, and I have to find a way to get like my medications because I can't bring them to the Orient because you have to respect the laws of the place you're at. And if they don't want that, I can't bring that. And that's what this girl should have thought of if she wanted to live here. They don't want that. You can't do that.
I just don't think you know how to comprehend the separation between I have no issue with a woman making her argument. I think it was absurd to claim she's adhering to Hamas because she's critical of Israel. But her visa is conditional, and it is the authority of these United States and the Secretary of State to revoke that. So it's okay. Right? Trump won the popular vote.
What? But
This is the agenda.
Man. Sorry, man. I this is the hump that I can't get over.
Clearly.
You don't have any problem with what she actually did, right? But Trump
marginally, I do, yeah.
Trump and Rubio had the narrow legal ability to do it.
You're not following.
Do you agree with their decision to
I do not.
it?
I think there is a net negative to a degree that foreigners come to this country to dictate our politics. Canadian,
I'm sorry,
British,
dictate our politics, or just give their opinion in the newspaper that's dictating?
You were a visitor in another country. Why do you need to be in the newspaper? I live here and I don't try to get in the newspaper. Keep quiet, keep your head down, and then assimilate. That's what you're here to do.
Let's I'll talk on the language.
You're not here to teach us how to exist. You're here to soak up some of our our kindness. That's it. We're not here to fucking learn from you. Like, you're coming to us and you need a place to go. So maybe shut the fuck up.
To come here and advocate for policies of the American people.
So you feel that foreign nationals of all kinds, when they're in the United States, should never speak about our politics ever,
Yes.
upon pain of legal punishment. That is a position that you have about America generally.
Did they agree to it?
Not punishment, just revoking of your ability to be here. That's not a punishment. You just have to leave because your ideas are in conflict with what we think here and what we want our visitors to think like and act like.
But when they applied for the visa under the INA, did they agree to those terms?
I don't know.
The answer is yes, they did. It clearly states when you're coming here on a condition, you can't do certain things. It literally says you won't protest. And we still would allow them to hold a sign up or something. But maybe if they didn't.
But apparently we don't allow them to hold a sign.
I don't.
So I'm not asking about what
don't.
they agreed to. I'm not asking the legal justification.
Don't agree to things you don't want to hear.
Do you, Tim Pool, believe that as a moral issue, as a practical issue? Do you think that America should be a country in which every foreign national in the country should feel that they should never speak about American politics under pain of legal punishment?
No.
Yes.
You don't think that that's, you don't agree with that?
You presented me an absolute, right? You gave me the extreme end.
Okay, so Rumesa Oster,
I agree with the
is a
extreme
really
end.
illustrative example because it was
Foreign
such a
nationals
mild
understand
version.
that they've made an agreement.
By foreign nationals, I mean people who are not citizens. Like, once you're a citizen, you can criticize the government all you want. But I didn't really quite understand what they meant by foreign nationals. I don't know if that means somebody born internationally or just somebody who's like trying to become a citizen. I don't know. I have different rules for that. Like, if you're already a citizen, you can say whatever you want. You're an American. That's different. But if you're here on some kind of visa bullshit, keep your fucking mouth shut and mind your fucking business.
Upon entering this country, that if they are in violation of the terms of their visa, it may be revoked. If they come here with the intent of advocating against U.S. foreign policy, that is a consequence. Speech has consequences. I think we're getting hung up on the issue that I've clearly answered, and I understand maybe you don't understand, but
I think I've pinned you down well enough that like you just like really have a much smaller view of free speech than I do, and I think a lot of Americans do.
I don't think
And
what you said means anything.
I think it's a change to.
He thinks everyone in the world deserves free speech, and I think everyone who is a citizen of America has free speech or should have free speech. They don't have it in England. You can't even make like certain Facebook posts in England. So everyone doesn't have free speech. You're not an American. You're here to visit. You don't get our rights just because you're visiting. No.
The American spirit, I think it makes the country smaller. It's a shittier country to live in. Is a country where people live in fear of what they say when they're here on a student.
They always
visa.
have.
Yeah, and that's bad.
So-
it's bad. So to live in fear of saying shit.
Good argument. Yes, don't live that way then. Go back to your country and say whatever you want there. See how it works out there. You're here for a reason. Can you say whatever you want there? Maybe that's why they kicked you out and you're here now. So don't do the same shit you just got kicked out of one country doing there. Don't come bring that here and do it in here and think we're going to keep you. No.
This is not. You see, this is here's the issue. I suppose
Your
memory goes back 3
whole
years.
bullshit culture baiting thing about the Islam stuff in England. If what you say is true, and it may be, I don't know, because I don't really I don't really follow that as
You
as
would
do.
never
But I think
go-
it's bad. about that country.
You would never
Yelling it
go
makes it more
to the
true.
UK and do those things.
If I were now, look, I don't know of the policies of which you speak, okay? But if I were to be in England and I were to make a joke on their stage and I were to be put into a van and removed from a country, I would say this is a bad thing about England, and I think that the country.
They just put a comedian in jail because he texted some stuff or posted some stuff on, I think, Twitter when he was in another country, and so they arrested him at the airport when he got back. There you go, Adam. How's that?
Sucks, and I think that they should change it, and I don't think people should go there anymore, and that sucks for them, and it sucks for us.
You wouldn't make a joke about Islam in the United States.
Do it. Do it.
You wouldn't.
Do it.
Okay. Sure.
it.
What's that meant to prove?
You don't actually believe in free speech.
Do you
You
have no
fear the
nuts?
consequences.
Because I don't make a joke about the topic that you demand me to.
Because this topic in
I don't believe in
particular has
free
resulted
speech.
in people like at Charlie Hebdo getting murdered.
Yeah, that's bad. It's
And
bad
like
that they were murdered.
South Park tried just showing Muhammad, and Comedy Central wouldn't let him do it.
Yeah, that's bad.
So let's see
I
you
don't
stand
agree
up
with
for that
that.
value and come out and make a joke about
I've
Islam.
stood up about free speech plenty of times. What
said
are you
Islam.
talking about?
Take it to the next level, brother.
Okay.
How about we do this?
This is
You believe in free speech?
Dude, this is what you do when you've lost an argument. Is that you just like
Okay,
you
you're
just
not even
jump
arguing
to
it.
this. You just
You brought
jump
it
to
up.
this. What? What did
Your whole argument is, I think it's bad.
You brought it up.
what did I? Oh, the Islam piece of it. Yeah. No.
And now I'm continuing the conversation, and you're derailing into you must have lost the argument.
No, because
Brother,
because
let's stand up for South Park, for Matt Stone and Trey
Yeah,
Parker.
I stand up for them.
So go on stage and show a big picture of Muhammad.
I'm sorry. What the thing that you're doing?
Stand up for free speech, brother. Do it.
So
I'll do it with you.
So you're demanding me to go on stage and
Prove
do
you
something
care about free
specific,
speech. Prove
and
you care
unless
about
I
free
do, I'm a coward.
I'm saying
This is a
I did.
bizarre
You care about
rhetorical
free
move.
speech.
This is a
I didn't call you-
bizarre rhetorical move.
I didn't call you a coward. I said prove you care about free speech.
Yeah, I
do
prove-
something that creates real risk to your person for free speech.
Yeah, I speak about shit all the time, dude. I'm happy to live in America.
In one direction, you talk about shit. You ignore it whenever it happens on the left, just like Tim just pointed out. You didn't have any problems with all the shit he brought up. None of his examples were an issue for you, but now you have an issue whenever Trump does the exact same thing that's been happening for your entire lifetime.
Where the things I say don't create real risk to my person. In fact, if I were to say the things that you're saying, I would not be creating real risk to my person.
You don't think so?
I do not think so.
Then why not just do it? Prove me wrong.
Because I don't have anything in particular to say about those topics.
Just put a picture of Muhammad up and say praise be. Prove I'm wrong.
I'm really glad we got here again because it's just very fun to sit in how weird this part of the conversation is.
Remember Charlie Hebdo?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, what happened?
Yeah, a bunch of people were shot because they.
Put a picture of Muhammad.
Yeah, that's bad.
You think if you did that, they might want to shoot you too?
Yeah, maybe.
So you shouldn't do it.
I mean, I don't have it. Well, the particular images that they showed, I didn't think were like very funny. Like it
Comedy
was their
Central
right to
wouldn't
do
let
it.
South Park
but-
do it either.
They
censored the whole thing
Yeah,
and
that's
bleeped it out
bad.
like
Yeah,
five minutes.
that's bad, and I think that's contrary to
Why
American
won't
values.
the free speech people who believe we should live in this country stand up against it?
I'm sorry. I'm not standing up for free speech unless I do what exactly?
I didn't say the only way for you to stand up for free speech is to do something. I said, why won't people who are
You
claiming
called me a hypocrite, and I don't understand what's hypocritical about me only doing jokes
hypocritical
about the topics that I'm
is
interested
that you
in.
would not go to the UK and speak in violation of their speech laws?
I mean, I went there. I made fun of their government. I talked about,
allowed.
the fire at Heathrow because that impacted my
have
travel when
hate-
I was
they have hate
there. I
speech
talked
laws.
about, yeah.
You can make fun of white people, but you can't make fun of non-white people. You go to jail for that.
Okay, yeah, I think that would, if it's as you say, that sounds like it would apply to me as a comedian.
I would not-
I think it would say that's a bad law.
I would not go to Turkey and speak out against Islam, and I would not go to the UK and violate their speech laws.
That's a liberal comedian too, just so y'all know. He thinks he favors him. He calls himself a comedian. And what has he said that's been funny ever?
Oh, okay. So are you a coward? What's your point?
No, I actually agree with the sovereignty of nations, and if they have laws, I'm not going to violate them.
Oh, I see the point that you're making. Okay. So when things are legal, they're just.
No.
Okay.
That's,
So then
that's,
what is
that's,
your
a,
point?
that's your argument is that foreigners.
It's force because that government has bigger guns than Tim would have when he's there. They can do whatever they want. That's what he's saying. Just like we have guns here, and that's why those people are flying back to their country because they said things and they shouldn't have.
should come here.
So one of your
face no
values
consequences.
is you should respect the sovereignty of other nations. But again, look,
Yeah, for
this
sure.
this is a
Should we invade
this is a recent change in the way that the U.S. prosecutes and selectively enforces the laws that are on the books, and that's what happened to Rumeysa Öztürk, and again, that's like a material change in like
I
spirit and
will
values
say-
of America.
Just because I think we spent like an hour on the one subject.
Yeah,
We can
I've been
try
having a
to-
great time. Yeah.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah,
It's been
we
fun.
could tell.
I have a question for you.
Yeah, sure.
In terms, you mentioned that Trump is, it's the makings of authoritarianism and things like that. Do you think that's distinct from any other administration?
Keep going.
Is the authoritarian push from the Trump administration? Obviously, there's going to be procedural distinctions, but I mean, like, were other administrations not also doing similar authoritarian maneuvers that were a gas?
Yeah, I mean, every single American administration could. I'm sure I can find things that I disagree with. Absolutely.
If I chose to, but I choose to only do it against Republicans.
I think one of the challenges that we have in the United States right now is the people that largely support Trump and voted for him, particularly in his first term and largely carrying over into the second one, non-consecutive, had never voted before. We saw parts of the country that normally don't vote start turning red, start lighting up with new voters. I was at a rally for Trump in Fort Lauderdale, and most of the people that I met were like, I don't vote. I never voted before. So these were new voters, which were like poor, white, working class people. And so I think we end up seeing happen, especially right now, is for younger voters, it's interesting considering they are shifting to the right, but they also have less memory of administrations past. For me, I voted for Obama. He was an evil man. And I didn't vote in 2016 because I said the system is corrupt. I've lived through, I was a teenager when the Gore v. Bush stuff happened, and I just saw bickering and arguments, and I'm right, then war and bullshit. Then Obama comes around, and I was, how old was I, 22 or something, and people were like, you got to vote. I was 22. You got to vote for him. He's changed. It's new. He wasn't supposed to win. Hillary Clinton was supposed to be the person, so I voted for Obama. One of the first things he does is he bombs a Pakistani village, kills a bunch of women and children. And I went, holy fuck, stopped voting. Didn't vote in 2016 either. I said, fuck this. The issue we see largely now is to see so many people who are, older millennials, Gen X and Boomer, acting like Donald Trump is an aberration. For a lot of people, it's like, you're fucking lying. You're lying, or you have a myopic view. I lived through when Barack Obama signed the indefinite detention rendition provisions of the NDAA, or when George W. Bush lied to the American people, didn't declare war, got a bullshit AUMF. And at the time, during the Iraq and Afghanistan war, it was, if you did not agree, they'd blacklist you from media and all these things. I don't see a functional difference until now. What I see now, I wouldn't necessarily call authoritarianism, in that Trump gutting the budget and shutting down departments is weakening federal authority for the first time in my life.
I mean, he's not weakening federal authority. He's weakening state capacity. He's, destroying our ability to like predict the weather. He's like firing scientists.
Just ask Israel. They'll make it for us.
And like Park Service people and stuff like that. In terms of authority, they're beefing up the law enforcement departments, and they're sort of, reaching out legally in stronger ways than ever. So like the law enforcement, the capacity for the state to sort of control your behavior is, the people with guns there's more of them, and they're more powerful than ever. Now, there's some, I'm sure, that we'll disagree about, like the EPA, you'd probably see as, the sort of department that's forcing people to do things. I think the EPA is mostly good. We probably disagree about that. But like most of the stuff that that he's firing are just the basic, like, good things that the government does. Like, the government does a lot of really bad shit. Government does a lot of really good shit. One of them is like predicting the weather, firing like thousands of NOAA scientists who are like, predict like when tornadoes are going to come hit, places like this here in West Virginia, right?
We don't get to, we're in the mountains.
Okay, sorry. I don't know. Yeah, fair.
I think as like most places, you can get a tornado, and sometimes they form, but it's not like Tornado Alley or anything.
Yeah, it's just funny, like some of the people who like interact with the weather service the most, or are in like the reddest areas, the tornado prone places, the storm watch people, stuff like that. And
they voted for it.
So a lot of it is, and it's really sad because it's just sort of like ignorance, like anti-science, anti-intellectual sentiment sort of sweeping the country is really bad. But I think the interesting thing that you point out, though, is there are past authoritarian things that other past presidents did, and I'll agree to that and say, that's really bad. The difference is you're stumping for it when Trump does it, and I find that really interesting. Well, you're stumping for, we should deport foreign.
We're saying he's playing the same game that's been going on for our entire life, Tom. How is that stumping for him?
Students who write an op-ed, like that's your.
Should.
You said it's good that they did it.
Marginally good.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So you're stumping for it.
So
you're on your platform saying it's good.
Marginally
That's my
good.
point. Yeah.
But I think the important
Okay,
distinction is should implies whenever it happens. I don't agree with that. I think, as I've said a million times, I don't understand. I don't want to go back on the issue. It's an absurdity to claim that someone who's critical of Israel is pro-Hamas.
Yeah.
People who are pro-Hamas are pro-Hamas. So there are nuances in all things. What I see largely right now is Trump won the popular vote. He's got approval as of April 22nd. To be fair, this is pre-tariff, so I'm sure it's gone down. But he's got general approval from most demographics except for the 70-plus bunch. And I don't see the removal of government agencies as authoritarian, especially when he promised to do it and then did it based on the people who voted for him.
I'm listening to just finish an audiobook about the rise of the Third Reich, just boning up a little history. And one of the first things that they do is that they destroy the civil service, right, and that kind of state capacity, frighten those people, get them to fall into line, and that's what a big part of what Trump has done. And I think it's
thought they disarmed the population first. Isn't that the first step? Disarm the population. Doesn't seem like Trump's doing that. But you can't have a gun in England and you can't have one in Australia now. So it looks like the rest of the world is going to that method. So I don't see what he's talking about.
been like really effective,
Frightening who?
Frightening like the actual people who work in the civil service, right? Like,
Fired.
yeah. Well, firing them and frightening the rest, right? And getting them to behave differently, installing loyalists, stuff like that.
To show up at work. That's what he's getting them to do. That's so scary. Oh, you got to show up to work if you want to get paid.
I think that's
administration
plainly
falls
authoritarian. Yeah, every administration will change out the department heads. They won't. There's. I did a show about the U.S. government, and I met some department heads who are like, "Oh, this person's a political appointee, and they're not that bright, right?" From both both administrations, but the civil service underneath them, right? The people who are like the trained experts, the weather scientists at NOAA, the regulators at like the FDIC who keep your bank balance safe, stuff like that. Then wiping those people out and replacing like the actual people with expertise with loyalists, right? And that's where you end up with the primary value is loyalty to Trump rather than actually getting the thing done properly. The DEI push to that's a fig leaf for removing people who are not sufficiently loyal, as well as there's a lot of reasons that they're doing that.
I'll say on that regard,
it's all pretty.
I won't make a direct counter argument to that, but I do think that's pretty assumptive.
Oh yeah, I'm making a claim, and you can get into it or not.
Yeah, it's trying to read into the intent, which may or may not be correct. Maybe.
Yes, I think it may or may not be correct. That is my view, though.
Right. My point is, and I respect that. Like, your view is based on those actions. There actually absolutely is an easy vehicle for firing people if your move is DEI. It's like these people here, I don't want them here. Oh, you were hired incorrectly. You're part of a department. I don't want to get rid of them. On the surface, outside of that, I think the DEI stuff is illegal, and I'm glad to see it purged and removed. I think it violates the Civil Rights Act.
DEI programs, you think violate the Civil Rights Act?
Yeah, I think, there's an interesting conversation around what is legal and what's not. A lot of people think if SCOTUS has it true, it's legal. I don't think that's fair, because that would mean that Roe v. Wade should have been overturned, but I think most liberals think it shouldn't have been. So they would argue that it wasn't constitutional or legal. But the Civil Rights Act says we're not supposed to discriminate on the basis of race, sex, religion, gender, et cetera. And when you create DEI programs where you're specifically targeting based on those factors, you're in clear violation of the Civil Rights Act. So, you got to amend the law or change it or create new provisions. But how I grew up, I would never want to be in a circumstance where race was a determining factor in whether or not I could get into school or get a job.
Yeah, neither would I, but for a lot of people, it fucking is, man.
But that's why we got the Civil Rights Act, and you have a right to sue the institutions that are in violation of that.
Dude just agreed with them when he's fighting against the thing he just said he agreed with.
And through those laws, we've eliminated largely blockbusting and redlining. And then Democrats largely started to enact
a lot of redlining still, but it's better than it used to be.
It's true. And that shouldn't be allowed. And it's through the Civil Rights Act, through the lawsuits, we've gotten rid of those things. I don't understand how we've circled back, and it's largely through the liberal side of things, to start using race again. That's crazy to me.
To start using race again.
Well, let me clarify that. Obviously, everybody always was secretly trying to use race because this country has a history. I don't think it's fair to say just this country, but people are racist. I think everybody's racist. And we're trying our best, I think, civilizationally, to be like, let's stop doing that. But there are a lot of people that don't because they're racist. So when I see, I don't care if it's a white redneck dude saying he doesn't like black people or whatever, these people online that want to make, anytime they post a video, they like, they'll post a video of black people committing a crime, and it's like, brother, I could find videos too of white people committing crimes. If you want to do like a multivariate study of every single instance of video crime or whatever, we could. There are FBI crime sets, I get that. But there are racist people out there. But the Democrats are still engaged in racist practices through DEI and gender-based discrimination, et cetera, which is just clear violation of every title of the Civil Rights Act.
I mean, there's a million different programs that get lumped in as DEI. I'm interested to know, you do think racism like exists in America, and it's a problem that we should keep fighting?
Profoundly exists in this country, and I think I don't think it'll ever go away. I think we have the proximity is the best cure. You know, you grow up around people and you understand they're good people, you tolerate them. I think we have a challenge with enclaves. So you'll find, and I think a lot of conservatives need to hear this too, because I was in Virginia near Hampton Roads. It's a lot of racism there, and I mean like literally white areas that are predominantly white that don't like black people, don't like Mexicans, don't like Chinese people. And that exists, and they're going to be racist. But you get a similar but different kind of function in white uppity liberal conclaves too. Yeah. And so I do think it's a problem. But the problem that I see now is affluent white liberals who have this, let me use an example. Do you know about the Yale study that found that white liberals they reduce their vocabularies to talk to black people?
I do not know about it, but it sounds like it could be true. Like it sounds anecdotally
because they're words.
Yeah, there's a lot of racist white liberals.
They present themselves as less competent in interactions with African Americans.
Yeah,
conservatives tend not to, but there still are obviously like racist parts of the South, especially in the South.
Racist parts all over America. And by the way, racism isn't unique to white people either.
Right. I mean, brother, go to Asia. Anybody who's been to China or Japan or Korea, it's like.
Well, and in America, we have
Africa.
We have a form of racism that's like, based around white supremacy, Israel. But it's like non-white people can like participate and like be a part of it.
I think that exists, but I don't think it's the predominant anymore. It may be largely.
So let me ask you this: when like there's a plane crash or a fire or something like that, and the Trump administration, the first thing they do is they say, too many black air traffic controllers. Like that's the first thing they do.
When did they say that?
That was like immediately they just come out and they're like DEI in the FAA. That's the problem. That was like the first thing Trump came out and did, and then that became the narrative.
Maybe all I can tell you is,
does that seem like racism?
DEI in air traffic controllers is the first place I would go to. Of course, that seems like a place where you really need to have the most qualified person there. Maybe surgeons, things like that. Yeah, I don't want any DEI in surgery. I don't want any DEI in anything where my life is on the line. Those are pretty important jobs, dummy. Why do you think he went to those first?
Because that's to me.
What I can tell you is I interviewed the Secretary of Transportation. He actually rejected that premise.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that you rejected the premise that, sorry.
Explain. Right. So I asked Secretary Duffy, are we actually seeing an increase in, these airline accidents? Because we've seen these high profile stories. Some have argued it's DEI finally catching up, which I don't think makes sense, that all of a sudden just planes crash because they hired diverse, people or whatever. And Duffy said no. He said, we've not seen a significant uptake. It's largely just a phenomenon of the media, and people are getting riled up. And of course, the right wants to say it's because of DEI, which makes no sense. The left is saying it's because of the Trump administration, which makes no sense.
The crashes we're talking about were DEI hired people, though. The woman that crashed the helicopter, that was a DEI, I would assume. Both of them, I think, had some kind of DEI tidings with them. This is kind of silly here. It does have to do with it, at least.
The issue
at least
is
those two.
We had stories that were sensationalized in the media. People perceived an increase in air traffic accidents, but we are going to try and streamline and fix the FAA.
Yeah, no, I felt that. Well, look, the air traffic controller system is in a obviously a terrible state, and that's a problem.
Did you see the computers they have?
In the Newark thing is, I mean, look, there's something to be said for old computers. There's a lot of people who make a lot of hay about government systems being written in Fortran and COBOL, but that stuff is actually really like future proof. Like it's old code bases that are like really well run and stuff.
It's not future proof. It's subject to ICS hacks. It's insane.
In some cases, I've read engineering analyses for in some cases we don't need to make fun of the old code. It's okay to have old code. Same reason why
least prepared liberal I've ever seen. He will say things and then 2 words later he's, oh, you're right, I'm wrong. He knows nothing.
Punch cards weren't so bad for voting sometimes. Like the old shit works well in some cases. But the FAA, air traffic control, we got to fix it up. It's an infrastructure problem in the country. And so based on what and I believe that a lot of the crashes were clustering, right? A couple crashes happen in short order.
Right.
Happens
Media.
Randomly. Well, not just media. It's like the human psychology, right? 3 random events happen together, and you think a whole lot are happening all at once. But like Donald Trump, the man, the human being, his literal first response was to come out and go, too many black air traffic controllers.
Didn't say that. Didn't say that at all.
Too many. I mean, I'm
Lefty trick.
paraphrasing for comedy.
Yeah, I don't think he specifically said
Where's the
black.
comedy?
No, he didn't say black
I think
people.
he's talking about
He said DEI. He blamed it on DEI immediately. And there is this odd, look, I'm not a fan of corporate DEI programs, especially.
Yes, he is.
The right was really smart to seize on DEI as a slur to tar all attempts to address racism with, because it's an acronym.
They're calling it didn't earn it.
Yeah. I've been through some seminars that were like a waste of time or whatever, kind of annoying. And I think that, the corporate response to, George Floyd's murder and everything that happened afterwards was like pretty toothless and stupid. But I find it bizarre to watch the right, like something goes wrong and they're immediately like, oh, the problem is that we have a woman fire chief, or we have a people of color air traffic controllers. It's like, oh, that's just straight up racism. Like,
it's a communication.
Wow, but you've like somehow done a little loop-de-loop where you're
a black lady who is the chief of the fire department and says it's not my job to carry people out of fires. Oh, yeah, I could see the problem. I could see the problem.
like, I think DEI is racist. Therefore, me yelling at black people in positions of power is not racist.
I mean,
like, it's bizarre.
but that's not the case. I mean, the right wanted to elect Larry Elder to governor of California. The meme among all
I'd vote for Jesse Lee Peterson right now.
conservatives is that Clarence Thomas should clone himself and replace every other Supreme Court justice.
Yeah, sure, I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about the rush to blame these infrastructure problems on.
So I would call it a failure of communication for sure. The issue,
call it racism.
but it's not the target. The target is people who are hired without passing, not the fact that they're black. So Charlie Kirk got a lot of flack for this because he said, I go on a plane, I see a black pilot, and I think, am I supposed to be worried?
Yeah, well, that's racist.
No, it's not.
The point he was making was he was calling you racist, dude, and you guys didn't get that. He said you have created a situation where average people think you are hiring people who can't do the job based on race, and we don't want to live that way.
I mean, he's the one getting on the plane and seeing a black person and saying that person's not qualified. I don't get it.
That's not what he's saying. He says Democrats are intentionally hiring underqualified people based on race. Why are
liberals need like hearing aids? They just hear something and it gets interpreted differently in their head or something.
they putting us in a situation like this?
He's saying that if a black person is in the seat, it means they're unqualified. That's his assertion.
No, he's saying he doesn't know because he knows you are advocating for it.
I'm just listening to the words that he's saying. It seems pretty straightforward.
I would say that when the left and the right only listen to the surface level clips and arguments, they don't actually understand what the person is conveying. And so the argument then is Charlie Kirk is a racist, which is not true. Charlie Kirk's point on that plane was, let's just map it out 1, 2, 3. Democrats have created policies by which they will put people in positions of authority who don't have the same caliber degree or have passed certain tests because of race. We've seen policies where they will actually go down the list of top candidates until they get to a race. This creates a concern among people that that individuals are being hired without the capability based on race. That's the idea he's trying to convey. Not that he doesn't want to fly with the black.
You think that when you think that in the time when we only had white pilots or white executives or white whatever, all those people were hired on merit. None of them floated through for some
We think there were standards, and you had to pass those standards. Yeah, I couldn't go to flight school because I had bad eyes. They wouldn't even let me.
other reason. Like
Nepotism.
yeah, exactly.
Kickbacks.
Like there's
I bet some people gave BJs.
Yeah, exactly. The systems are like they already do that for everybody. So
But it
like
wasn't based on
so
race.
for him to go in and say, oh, when I see a black person, that's when I think that, not
Because
when
your
I
policy
see a
is
white
racist.
person.
Your policy is
then
racist.
that's racist on his part because he's only focusing on when the black people.
But it's because the
there.
policy is
Just the people who they relaxed the standards for. Yes.
race-based. The policy is race and gender-based. And so the issue is not Charlie Kirk saying he doesn't like black people. He's saying Democrats are hiring people who are less qualified based on race. This is creating a concern for people, which we don't want to
So
experience.
the counter argument would be if you have a system that has no black people in it, right? You have a pool of people doing the job that has no black people in it. That clearly is not based on merit because black people are X percent of the population, and surely some would have gotten through if it was really based on nothing but merit. So some of the existing white people must actually not have gotten there via merit. It must be because of a race-based system. So instead, let's adjust the system so that we give everybody an equal opportunity. That is going to mean that there are going to be more black people in the system. Now that happens, he now gets on the plane, he sees a black person, and he says, now it seems they seem unqualified to me. It's pretty straightforwardly racist.
I actually think that it was racist systems that kept out qualified candidates. What I would say to your argument is the only distinction between what you said and white nationalists is that you want a system to bring those people in, and white nationalists don't. So you both the left and the right agree that there is some kind of phenomenon where black people should be qualified and aren't qualifying. I disagree with that. I think that there were institutions throughout history that hampered the process by which minorities were able to go to schools to effectively get those degrees. It's very difficult. The liberal argument floats dangerously close, I think, to what white nationalists are hoping for. It's not to say you're wrong or anything, but it's a similar argument. That is the implication. So I'll put it this way: Ben and Jerry's. Do you know what the 1350 is? They call it the 1350.
Is that a Ben and Jerry's thing?
Not intentionally, but this was like, holy shit, brother. Like, maybe you shouldn't be tweeting this. The 1350 is a meme which references despite being 13% of the population, black people commit 50% of the crimes. And so that is a meme shared among white nationalists. Ben and Jerry's put out the exact same meme, but tried approaching it from a DEI standpoint. And this lit the fucking internet up with people mocking Ben and Jerry's, being like, holy shit, they've gone full white nationalists. They said, despite making up 13% of the population, black people make up 50% of the arrests. And the white nationalists said, you're correct, 100% correct. We agree with you on everything, and started cheering for Ben and Jerry's. And I was like, whoa, guys, don't take their arguments from them. Like, I think it's fair to say that there are racist, components of racism that have existed in this country for a long time. The solution would be colorblind hiring processes.
I agree with
and educational benefits that target class and not race, because then you remove the racial component from the argument completely, instead of creating a racial argument for the white nationalists.
But if you admit that people in America are racist, you can't build systems that are completely blind to race, or you have race you have individual racists continuing to
That'll never
exert their
change.
power over the system.
So what you do
So
is
you accept racism. You're just like, okay, yeah, racism will continue to affect every part of the system.
and we can mitigate it, right? So, for instance, for hiring practices, when it comes to the hiring managers, they should have no access to the name or the race of the individual. It should literally be, here's the resume, here's their qualifications, is it a yes or a no? And what we do then is we should target class-based opportunities for the younger generations, meaning if we go, like, so for instance, I grew up in Chicago, heavily racially segregated. We had 47th Street was a dividing line where on one side it was all black. On the other side, it was largely white, but there was some Latino there. This created a lot of problems. Two different neighborhoods looking at each other like others. And if you were white and went to the black neighborhood, you got arrested. If you were black and went to the white neighborhood, the police wouldn't go near them because they were scared of being called racist. The gangs would come from the black side and rob people on the white side, creating a lot of anger, where the white people would be like, it's black people doing it. And then I'd be like, I actually think it's a different community. It doesn't matter if it's white or otherwise. They just don't view as part of their community, so they don't care if they rob you. But if I robbed you, all the neighbors would get mad at me, right? The issue isn't the race, but this created massive racial tensions. If you went into that neighborhood and gave the black neighborhood a ton of benefits, resources, checks, or whatever based on race, brother, there'd be murders. It'd be fucking nuts, the racial tension you'd create. But if we do it based on income and class, then you'd have equal amounts of both neighborhoods now going to the same schools, making friends with each other. And then you're going to have one guy who's going to be like, yeah, I live on 46th. And I'm like, no way, I live on 48th. Like, bro, you're south of 47th? Let's hang out, man. And now they're friends. They don't view each other as others. They don't feel like their taxes are going to one racial group. Instead, what's ended up happening is DEI programs have said it's going to be based on race. And so then you get, if you go to like Appalachia, for instance, these are the poorest of the poor, and they feel like what little they could have is being given away to other people based on race, and they're being left behind, which breeds racial animosity.
Yeah, I mean, the pitting of, poor white people against black people is like just part of the strategy of, the people in power, and they've always done it. And
liberal or
it's
otherwise.
It's unfortunate to watch. It's
Saying
unfortunate to watch the country like descend into that again. Racial issues are hard to tackle because it's we're very susceptible to it, and unfortunately backslid into a period of white racial backlash again, where the people around the country are just. They're just like, the Trump administration literally just treats any black person as unqualified and fires them from the federal government. Like, that's what Pete Hegseth is doing in the Department of Defense. It's like, it's just like out and out
No
racism. It's like a racial purge of the government. It's really bizarre. They're trying to like
Where did that
resegregate
happen?
the country.
with no evidence
Where
to
did
back
that,
any
where
of
did
that
that
up.
happen where they were firing black people?
Let's hear it.
I don't know the names off the top of
I
my
don't
head,
know
but
nothing. I don't know nothing.
yeah.
That's
That
what's
sounds-
happening, but I don't know nothing
that
about
sounds
it.
not true.
Because
Because I'll put it this way,
Jesus
even if
Christ.
it were true, it's so overt that like,
yeah, they're being really overt about it. Donald Trump is going on television and going, planes are crashing because of DEI. So it's
but DEI
really,
is a philosophy, is an ideology.
he's saying because there are unqualified air traffic controllers because they were hired because they're people of color. It's racist. He's racist.
Maybe they were.
He's a racist man, and
Could be true. You haven't proven that he was wrong.
he's issuing racist policy, and the entire country's going along with it because we're in a period of white racial backlash.
When do you think he became racist?
I think he's been racist his whole fucking life.
How did he win all those awards then? Like, or like those accolades and like,
I don't know what accolades he won. He's won accolades.
yeah, it was like a civil rights leader awards and shit.
Donald Trump has won civil rights leader awards.
Let me see if I can find something. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Well,
Yeah, one of them
that's,
from Jesse Jackson, I
awards
believe.
are dumb, so I don't.
They are
I think,
dumb.
I think he won. I think he won
They
them
are.
because awards are stupid. I don't know. Bad job, awards committee, for giving the.
But he watches the Grammys, I bet.
He did get the Ellis Island Medal of Honor, but there's a correction. It wasn't particularly over racial issues. I don't know what that means.
You love Trump so much. It's funny you're pulling up his awards.
I don't know. What you think I
He's won so many racial awards.
I think it's weird that you think I love Trump.
I mean, you're here talking about how great his approval numbers are. Like
That's a fact. That's a fact statement.
Your YouTube headlines are all like Trump is crushing
It's a
his.
fact.
If you say facts in front of this guy, he thinks you're against people or something. Like, that's just a fact. If I say like Trump's doing good in the polls today, it doesn't make me a Trump fan. It just say he's doing good in the polls. I'm not even a fan of Trump, so
His numbers are up.
admit reality.
Well, and the rest of the press is like his numbers are down. And
I never said his numbers were up.
I
I literally just told you right now, because of the tariffs, his numbers have gone down.
dude, look. Hey,
I went on
man,
Piers Morgan and said Trump's approval is absolutely down. And I said, you don't got to look at corporate press. Take a look at Rasmussen. They love Trump, and they have Trump down 4 points.
let me ask you something.
I don't think you watch my show.
I don't watch it that much.
I don't think you do any
But
research.
I've looked at
no research at all. I don't even think he knows how to do research.
like your YouTube headlines.
We've
and a
never
lot of
said
them
we've
are
never
like-
said Trump's polls have recently been rebounding, but that's a fact statement from Newsweek aggregating like 3 or 4 different polls.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie and claim his polls are down if they're not down, and if his polls are down, I'll say they're down.
okay. I mean, I
use
all
all
the
the
reporting I saw in the last 2 weeks. Like, oh, his numbers are down. And I saw you were going there up, and I look at your YouTube headlines, and a lot of times it seems like, look, the easiest way to get people to click on YouTube is tell them that their side is winning. I have trouble getting sucked into this in my own YouTube headlines.
I just go by. And you know what I try to do? I try to avoid singular polls as well. So I was on Piers Morgan. He asked about this. Carrie Lake, of course, said, of course he's doing well. The polls are lying. I said, no, they're not. I was like, the issue is that people don't. The one thing that's challenging is that the polls are so dramatically different from each other that it's going to create this perception. But my point was simply track a single poll. Find one you trust. If Trump supporters love Rasmussen,
If you're getting confused, this is from a couple of months back. I think it's from May. Let me check, make sure. It's from May 16th. So that's why they're talking about some slightly older news. Yeah, the polls are way down now. But
okay,
this
well,
is
Rasmussen
from a
had Trump
while
go
back.
down. So even if you think ABC is lying, is Rasmussen, who had Trump up yesterday? Well, he's down today. So Trump's approval went down with oh, come on. It went down with the tariffs. The tariffs were bad for him. But
The tariffs are bad. They're really stupid. He's losing his mind.
so for instance, like Rasmussen currently has him up 3 points.
Yeah.
The challenging thing, I think, is like if you look at
This guy, Adam, sounds smart if you don't think about what he's saying or ask him any questions. Because he uses words well, and it sounds like if you just saw him on TV and you can't ask anything back and you don't pay attention too much, you would think he's kind of like an intelligent guy just because he's good at banter, which I need to get better at. But that's all he's got is banter. He's good at like stringing words together and not being like in the middle. He's very articulate, but not very intelligent, like the women on whatever.
economist and big data, they cover nearly the same span. +1 -8.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, I don't know how you track singular polls. And the aggregates are also confusing as well. So what I say is, I always show this. I'll always try to show all the polls in the aggregates, but then I'll say, let's just track an individual poll. Maybe it had Trump -10 yesterday. Maybe he's -12 today, showing a downward trend.
But like,
Then where the favorable poll.
But like, I don't watch your show that much. I click around. It seems like you support Trump generally. You're normally saying,
Don't show any proof of this shit that I'm wrong, please. Just move on.
here's why the thing that he did. Yeah, okay. So you like him generally.
You know, a lot of bad things too.
I'm saying, he's behaving in an authoritarian fashion. He's abridging free speech. You're like, oh, but presidents in the past did that. They were being authoritarian and they were abridging free speech. And here's why Bush did it, and it's bad.
Well,
but when Trump does
that's
it,
not
you
how
like
I phrased it. My phrasing was, do you think it's distinct from other administrations? Like,
You thought it was good when they were doing it before?
my question for you is, do you think it was good when they were doing it before?
It was bad.
Yeah, and my point is, there are instances where you didn't care and instances where you did. So again, I think
I wasn't on this show then, so I cared about it then.
let me. So Piers Morgan had a great question for me when I went on the show, and I keep bringing him up, but he does a good show. It's kind of sensational, but he asked me how I thought Trump was doing, and I said B+. I think that the universal tariff thing is I'm skeptical of it. It's a little wonky. Selective tariffs, I think, are a good thing.
Okay, they're going to talk about some stuff that was in the news 7 months ago. So I'm going to cut it here. But I do want to address a few things. Like, I went through a fast track program to get a degree in process technology. I was working in plants where you can, just learning how to work in plants. And I saw how DEI affects stuff like that, because that was it wasn't quite STEM. I don't think it would be, well, maybe, I don't know. And we went on a hiring, like, I don't know what you call it. It was like a hiring thing where they took the whole class and we went and applied at a plant. Right. And I had really good grades. One of the guys who cheated off of me used to sit next to me, and he went with me to the thing that day. And after they did the interviews, like, they asked me questions that were so insane. They asked me about processes that we didn't learn about, that they don't even own, that they're just like theoretical processes, and what I would do in situations that would never happen. And it was just like insane, the shit they were asking me. And when I went out and I asked my friend, like when we went to go to lunch, I was like, dude, what did they ask you? Because they asked me crazy shit. He's like, they just asked me how to turn the machine on. And he got the job. He got the job. He cheated off of me in class and he got the job. That's the problem I have with DEI, right? Because, yeah, he was a black guy. And they told us at the beginning of the class, if you're black or a woman, you got a job. Don't even worry. If you pass the class, you're going to get a job. He told us this at the beginning of the class. And it turned out, yeah, it was just like that. Just like that. The women were all scooped up. Even one girl who was the most dangerous person in the class, she got scooped up. She got a job quickly. It's just, that's the way it is. And so you learn to deal with the racism you're going to encounter just because, and I'm Native American. I don't put that on anything because I'm only a quarter, but I have to deal with racism because I look white and I look fully white. So even though I look kind of Spanish, people either think Spanish or Greek. I'm half Indian. I don't know how I look like this. No idea. But 23 and me don't lie. And what was the other thing? Yeah. My issues with Tim, because a lot of people were thinking I have some kind of crazy thing against him. It's not that crazy. I think he is quite arrogant, and I'm kind of trying to get back on the team with him, other than the Zionism shit, but to where I can at least watch his shit and not dog him out too much. So that's why I'm showing him against two liberals, because he's very good against liberals. Tim is very, very skilled at debating liberals. But when he debates somebody that's more conservative, he kind of shifts into their mode and starts arguing just like they do. So I can use him for stuff like this. And I'm getting over a similar thing with Crowder. I had issues with how he got treated his comedian friends that were on the show, but I'm getting over it because he's doing good work. So I'm doing this to try and see some of Tim's good work. I'm going to only view him through the eyes of he can only do debates against like liberal shitheads, because he's really good at that. He's a good tool for that. I just can't I can't go with him whenever it's like against Andrew Wilson or some base guy that's got really good takes that make way more sense. He just loses it because his arrogance won't let him admit, yeah, I'm wrong. I need to do some more thinking on this. Like if you go watch the video I did on him versus Andrew Wilson, it's so clear that he's just being arrogant and he doesn't even know what he's talking about. He's probably never even thought about the position, but his arrogance won't let him just say, you know, you got me. You're right. You're right. That does make more sense. He's just incapable of doing that. And like, if you get me, I'll admit it right there. Like, you got me. I can't think of anything that'll change my stance. So you've got to be willing to adapt that if you're going to be successful, I think, because when you're wrong, you're wrong. So anyway, that's my views on Tim Pool. And I'm going to try and get over my issues with him and how he treated his co-hosts when they started out. I'm getting past it. I'm getting through it. It's just taking a while because I'm very hard-headed and stubborn. So anyway, peace. I will see y'all. Not tomorrow. Tomorrow's my day. I gotta go do some stuff. So I'll see y'all Thursday. Y'all have a good day off tomorrow. Have a good Wednesday. Peace. I will see y'all Thursday.
Anything else than your machine.